I was sitting with my family when this confession about a harassment case came up on Facebook. It was from this girl. She was a rising senior in this very famous high school. She had her first high school sweetheart and is very dreamful of most people as well. Her friends, her family, even herself thought nothing could have been better for her. That is until her boyfriend, he started talking her into doing the deed with her. But you see, she said she was fine with most things like holding hands, hugging, or even kissing. But having sex is definitely above my limit. That's what she said. However, he did not stop at her refusal. He did not stop there. He kept pushing, pressuring her until she did it, unwillingly. Well, after reading the story, I could feel that she was a victim. She had a lot of feelings for him, that's why she did it. But after that, there's a lot of hatred as well. But apparently, my dad did not think so. He said, now that is very silly of her, isn't it? How could she be so naive to let some things like that happen to her? Was it really the fault? Was that all he could take from the story I just shared? So I turned to my mother, hoping to get a more rational response from her. Nothing. Not a single word. I was really disappointed. I tried to talk to them, get them to understand that in here, she is the victim, and the story that she finally had the courage to step up and share to the public is now being used against her. To put all the blame on her. So, I couldn't let my parents understand how big of a crime victim blaming is. So now I am here trying to get everyone in this room to understand how big of a crime victim blaming is. So, victim blaming refers to when a person who is attacked either physically, mentally, or sexually, and they are held accountable for their consequences, even though it should have been the attacker. In a bad situation, the victims are who they are, they're not asking for it, but they are blamed for what happened. That's not correct, that's not right at all, that's not morally right. The one in the wrong here is the victim. Oh wait, no, sorry. The one in the wrong here is the attacker. But no one sees that fact. It's sad, isn't it? In fact, many people have come at the victim, blaming them for what happened, and that is why victim blaming became a thing. And this is why we need to learn what is victim blaming and how to mitigate this situation and give the respect to the victim. So what can we do? Two main things. Learn the consequences and learn how to avoid it. When you hear victim blaming, what is the most dreadful consequence of victim blaming that comes to your mind? Discouragement. Discouragement preventing the victim to come up and come forward to share the stories. When you are wronged or attacked, the first and the one thing you want to do is to prove you're right and get justice. But how can you do that when everyone is blaming you for the happening of that unfortunate event, when everyone is accusing you of being too weak to defend yourself? Is there such thing as that? Just because you're weak, you deserve to get attacked? Of course not. It's never correct. But it still happens anyway. People have hopes and spirits to come up and speak up about the cases, about the suffering, about the truth. But those hopes and spirits are crushed, stepped on by those who know nothing better than to point the fingers at this victim, telling them they should have done this, they should have done that, they should have fought back stronger, should have worn less revealing clothes, should have stayed silent enough. An undeniable part of society is judging cruelly, dismissing and discouraging every single attempt to come up and speak up from the victim. Well, why don't they just ignore everything and hate comments, go on with their life, do what they want to do? This is definitely easier said than done, isn't it? Because how can they? How can they when the fear of being weighed again is growing bigger and bigger every single time a thoughtless judgment is thrown at them? That fear then becomes this enormous lump in their throat, preventing them from coming forward, from speaking up. And eventually, it prevents them from freeing themselves from the suffering, from the sad reality, even for the rest of their life. So what's next? Self-destruction. You see, self-destruction is quite a broad term, isn't it? But today I want to talk about two types. We have self-blaming first. The wrong accusations from outside get into the head of the victims after a period of time, and it messes up their consciousness as well. But that is unfortunately not the only reason why victims blame themselves. They blame themselves as a coping mechanism. Now, I will give you an example to see this more clearly. A girl, let's say, a girl who's raped, blames herself for being too naive, that she let the rapist did such things to her. Was it really her fault? Not really. She could not control his mind. She could not stop him from thinking about doing such bad things to her. But she still blamed herself. She blamed herself being too weak, or too naive, or too gullible. It's all to make herself feel safe, to feel like she's in charge of the situation, even though she's not. She's just trying to save herself. You see, endless self-blaming, endless false blaming from outside, it all comes into one end, which is the ongoing, non-stop cycle of false blaming. And it leads to the next thing, self-neglect. This can go from not wanting to hang out with friends, not wanting to dress up, to not being mentally strong enough to do any basic daily tasks, such as taking a shower, or eating enough to maintain a good physical health. We normal people feel tired, burnt out, let's say time to time. And when those days come, we feel like we don't want to do anything other than lying down, do nothing, because we just feel really tired and empty. Imagine how many days like that a person of victim blaming might have. And when you're ill, both mentally and physically, what can you do? Life then just continue as a continuation instead of a true life. And what are you doing if you're not living your life? So, what can we do? What can we do to help them to avoid all this situation? The very big first step is to listen. A victim who wants to share the story means they're trying to get themselves out of that hard position, out of the pain. So they need a listener who's willing to listen attentively, carefully, and patiently. And after listening, what do? We comfort them. We let them know that it is not their fault for what happened, and their pain and their emotions are totally valid. What do after that? You know, helping directly the victim cannot be the only answer to this problem. We need to help them indirectly